Hi, I'm Mario Andrade, Superintendent of the Nashua School District, and I want to welcome you to our first installment of Gateway to Success. Each month, we'll be reviewing our strategic goals and looking for opportunities to celebrate and recognize the implementation of those goals. Overall, the district is moving towards 5 key areas: strengthening our Tier 1 instruction, raising teacher and student empowerment, fortifying our ELL instruction, strengthening community partnerships, and working in more collaboration. We're very fortunate to be working with our NTC video production class as well as our marketing class to produce this show. So I want to thank all the students for their involvement. This month, we're very fortunate to have Director Helene Talbert, who's just been appointed as a CTE director back in July. So this month, we're going to really highlight the aspects and partnerships and pathways through the CTE program. So welcome, Helene.
Thank you.
So tell us, you've been in the position since July. What have you learned about the program over the last couple of months?
So there's a lot of moving parts. We have 17 different classes that represent NTC. So I've started out by just getting to know the teachers, the programs. There's a lot of equipment that are in the programs. And just trying to wrap my head around the direction that we're going. If you look at the trend nationally, career and technical education is growing, and students are choosing not to go directly into college, some students, and so these programs give them the advantage that when they come out of the program, if they stick with the 2-year program, they have a quicker entry into a pathway of a career of their choice. So I've been spending a lot of time in the programs, getting to know, the people, the teachers, the equipment, and sort of starting there.
So tell me a little bit about our faculty and staff in the CTE program.
So most of our staff, the majority of our staff have been around a really long time. I would say, 10, 15 plus years, if not more. We have a few new instructors this year. We hired a new culinary chef in the program, and we're excited about Grace because Grace is a graduate of our program. She is a Sauhegan student that took the program probably 8 years ago, I believe, and she went on to the Culinary Institute of America, and she's a pastry chef, and the kids love her already. We also have a new automotive teacher. Basically, I met the teacher in the garage where I had my car serviced, and I sort of approached him as a joke and said, would you ever consider being a teacher? And he jumped on it. And so he's been a great addition to the program. The programs are expanding. I'm finding that several other programs have waiting lists and students can't get into them. So that's what I'm working on. It's a possibility that we'll open a second electrical program possibly next year. And so I'm just looking at the whole picture and figuring out the first things that I want to do to expand the opportunities for the students.
Yeah. So looking back in the history of the CTE programs, I know you were a former CTE teacher back in the day.
Yeah.
CTE has always been, I feel like, a hallmark of what really public education should be.
Yep.
We have, when we look at real world learning, often students say, when am I ever going to use this skill, whether it's in an English class or a math class.
Exactly.
CTE has always been the exemplar on real world learning.
Exactly.
So how has since when you were a teacher to now, has the mindset shifted on CTE pathways, on the quality of students going into the program, the opportunities after high school graduation? Really, what is the collaboration, problem solving, critical thinking skills that are now in programs that were always in programs but are really more highlighted at this point?
I mean, I do believe the opportunities that are available right now compared to when I was a teacher, I think that was 17 or 18 years ago, are expanded for sure. So I know that a lot of the trades, for instance, the HVAC trade, right now, those students can get out of high school, go to the Manchester Community College, and they're offering them basically free tuition. So I think just because of the way the country is going in terms of having a need for construction workers, home builders, electricians, HVAC, nurses, you know, we have our health occupation. There's a lot of money that's coming from the federal government or the state to expand the students' education once they get out of high school. So I think that's a big difference than when I was here. When I was here, there were still scholarships that students could earn, but I don't think it was necessarily coming from the government. And so that's really been exciting. I met today with the class of 1963, and they've changed some of their thinking in terms of scholarships, and they're really looking right now as to whether or not they want to develop a scholarship just for students that graduate from career and technical colleges. And maybe college is not the next step for those students, but more of a trade school. And so they're looking at maybe providing some funding for that. So I think based on, I guess, the baby boomers and everybody that's looking at retirement right now, I think across the country there's a shortage in these type of workers. And then in terms of, you asked about the student engagement. I mean, I think students are more able to choose their path in our programs because, for instance, if you look at like a culinary program, so they teach them all sort of techniques in terms of culinary, but there's a savory side of culinary and there's a sweet side of culinary. So students that graduate that program, they have the skills that they need to go either direction. And so I think they have more choice in terms of their pathway. I think they're more directed in terms of what they're interested in, if they're interested in it. You know, many times we say if they take a program for 1 or 2 years, like, you know, early childhood, cosmetology, if they decide they don't want to go into that career path, well, good for them, because they didn't spend, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in college to decide that this wasn't for them. So, yeah.
So often when I walk into a CTE class, again, I think there's exemplars going on where it's mostly student-focused, student-led, student-centered.
Yes.
We're a competency high school, but CTE programs are very competency-based. You have to meet industry standards. But when I walk into a lot of classrooms, it's led by the students and not so much the instructor. The instructor is there coaching, working side by side, giving prompts, but really the students are working at independence or working in collaboration with their peers. How do you see the same thing when you walk into the classroom? I think those are really real-world learning skills.
I mean, I do, because I think, like, for instance, I just think about a visit I took into the preschool program Friday. There was a young lady there, a student that was doing what we consider an extended learning opportunity. So she was a third-year early childhood student. She was working at a table with preschoolers, and then there was all the first-year students that were in the program with her. There's only 2 teachers in that program, but there's 20 preschoolers and there's, you know, 12 to 15 high school students. And one of the little boys was having a problem, and it's hard to find a teacher when you're in the midst of a preschooler, you know, that might have a catastrophe at the moment. But she was able to look at this third-year student and say, I think that he's about to, you know, have a problem. What should I do? And she was able to just quickly redirect herself and help that student. So I do think the students certainly work together more in these programs. You know, I think in these programs, you know, I think a culinary, there's 10 or 12 stations that are all cooking or preparing food, and there's 2 teachers. So the kids are really working together to solve their problems and figure out, you know, what they're doing versus the teachers, you know, directing the instruction, because again, there's only 2 of them. So I think the programs and the way they're laid out, it just lends itself more to that. Yeah.
So I'm entering my 3rd year as a superintendent, and I'm always amazed with our community partnerships.
Yes.
We have a plethora of resources, wraparound services. So I just want to spend a little time talking about some of the partnerships that we have, because I believe learning is 24/7. It's just not between first bell and last bell. Students are always applying their learning, both inside and outside the classroom. Can we talk a little bit about the strength of our community partnerships? Who do you have partners with, and what are you looking for in that partnership?
Yes, I would love to talk about that because I'm absolutely looking to expand that, that group of community members as much as I can. I mean, for instance, in health occupations, the students go to 2 of our local, I don't think they're called nursing homes anymore, but 2 of our local homes, Corville and I'm not sure what the Hunt community. They go to Corville and the Hunt community, and they've been going to those programs for years. So our nursing students go in there and they work with patients. We have local PTs, physical therapists, that take our students from Health Oc, and they go into to those organizations. I know we have Apple Therapy, and we have a newer physical therapy, I can't remember the name of them, company that we're going into. Even CVS this year for the first time, which was phenomenal, has offered some of our students some pharmacy tech opportunities, which that's new this year. We have a student in biotech that's interested in possibly becoming a pharmacy, and we have nursing students that are interested in becoming pharmacists. So that's been really exciting. Next week, I believe it's next week, my engineering and my HVAC programs are collaborating with the Department of Transportation, and they're in a bridge building contest. So HVAC and engineering are coming up with different models of bridges for the Department of Transportation. So we have that going. We have a very tight relationship with Methuen Construction. They're involved in our construction programs. As you know, last year when you started building McCarthy Middle School, Longchamps Electric, who was doing all the electric at McCarthy, they brought our students over and allowed them to work with them and to intern with them to pick up some skills. So that worked out really well. I know that BAE Systems is very involved in our engineering programs. I recently found somebody that I knew from years ago from Hitchner Manufacturing, and so they're going to start being part of our advanced manufacturing program again. So there's a great need for community partnership in our programs, and I'm really hoping to expand those relationships.
If someone asked you, what is one thing that the community or city government, students, parents should know about the NTC that they probably didn't know, what would you highlight?
I would say that there's 17 different pathways that students can opt to take part of in their high school career. It's not always like that. Not all high schools have these programs, and these programs are real pathways to their futures. And again, if they start the program and they don't think it's their thing, that's okay too, because a lot of time kids go to college and they pick a major and then they don't stick with it and they pay a lot of money. So this is free. I can't even imagine the number. So I was the early childhood teacher. I can't imagine what the number of teachers in the Nashua School District, what the numbers are of the teachers that were in my program. I have so many teachers in the district that graduated my program. So I know that these programs are creating professionals out in the community. When I first accepted the job, I talked to my sister about it. She had 3 kids at the high school at the time. And I said, I'm going to be the new CTE director. And she said, what's that? And I said, the director of the CTE programs. She was extremely involved in the district. She had no idea about the programs. So I really don't think parents have a sense of what our programs are and what they offer for their students. Most of our programs, I would say 98% of our programs also have the opportunity for students to engage in dual enrollment with the colleges, so they get credits. The Nashua Community College offers 2 free classes within our programs. Other classes, like they can get them in English and some of the content areas, but most of our programs allow them to have 2 free classes from the college, which equals money. So,
excellent. I know we've had conversations about expanding to the middle school, almost to your point of growing that awareness.
Yes.
What's our partnership with, like at the middle school level?
So I just sent an email last week and asked the middle school to help me to plan an 8th grade experience where we're going to go out to the middle schools and present to them. Bringing student ambassadors, and a student ambassador is second-year students in any one of our programs that applies to be an ambassador, and basically they help us to market the programs. So right now I have a wonderful young lady in the video production program, and she's creating a bunch of tidbits for Instagram and for social media, but she's also creating a video where the students are actually going to speak about their programs, because it's so much more effective when students speak to students. I mean, you know, you and I could speak into a blue in the face, but students listen to students. So we plan on bringing the ambassadors to the middle school. We plan on showing them this video they created, and really giving them an opportunity to see what CTE is at the high school.
Great. I think that's a perfect segue to end this first
Yes.
session. I can't think of a better person to have here.
Thank
But
you.
the purpose of this session and the Gateway to Success is to highlight and celebrate everything that's going on in the district. How do we create 10,000 gateways of success for each and every student? And that's the purpose of this.
Yeah.
This session will be, or these episodes, will be led by our students, marketed, planned, produced, and really from a student perspective, what makes Nashua so great? So I can't wait for further collaboration with our video production class and our marketing class to highlight all the successes and celebrations across the district. So thank you for being our
Thank you for
very
having me.
first guest,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to many more episodes.
Thank you.